innovative work as a solo artist and his contributions as a sideman to Joe Satriani and Steve Vai, Stuart Hamm is one of the most influential electric bass players of the past half century. You just heard that. You heard Goodbye, the first track on his brand new solo album. It's a concept album. It's called The Diary of Patrick-Xavier. And, I mean, talk about innovative and extraordinary. This album is, it just blows my mind. There's nothing like it out there, nothing like it. You can get it on CD Baby right now. You can also go to his website, stuarthamm.net, and that's Stuart with a U and Ham with two M's because he's special. He wants two M's. But welcome to Big Blend Radio, everyone. We're your hosts, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, the crazy mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine, as well as Parks and Travel Magazine. Check it all out at bigblendmagazines.com. We are super happy to have Stu join us on today's show. Stu, welcome. I felt like we were at the beach with you.
so happy to be with you guys, man. And we had a nice little conversation before the show started, and so let's get going.
I know. Now listen, Goodbye. Like seriously, I felt like it was that sunset time on a beach. I mean, everybody's got their thing, and I want to talk about the whole concept behind the album, but I just felt like I was at the beach at that point where you just need to calm down and, maybe have whatever you want, a little glass of wine or something else, whatever everybody wants, a bottle of water, who knows.
Don't you feel so relaxed?
That is such a beautiful song. And,
well, that's great. Well, thank you. I mean, that's a great thing about art is everyone can interpret it and hear it any way they want. I think it was Debussy, I think, who asked why he never wrote lyrics, and he said, well, lyrics can be misinterpreted, right? But if you just write melodies and chords, then it's sort of up to the listener to decide what it means, or there may be ambiguity in the way it's written, which further involves the listener.
For me, all I can say is I know that you know how nature moves.
Yeah, you do.
Even if you don't know, you know it.
Yeah, you definitely do.
You move just like nature.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny. We're talking about a little bit about synchronicity. We're going to finish this show by playing a song called "Hello" that I wrote on the Galapagos Islands. And so I just flipped on my TV, and the blue planet is on, showing the Galapagos Islands.
Oh, you're going to see the snakes go after the iguanas.
Oh, dude.
Oh, you know what? What's so messed up about that is that I spent, like 10 days at Galapagos Islands, and we went to all of these nature, museums and stuff. They never showed us those films of the snakes chasing after those baby iguanas. And
I don't know
if I would have gone. It's the
you know what?
creepiest thing
We just had a travel writer on our show, Melanie Votow. Everybody, you can see her article and video and everything up on our nationalparktraveling.com site. And she's on the show, just came back, and she's a birder. She's written all these birding books. She's done all this. Yeah. And so we had another traveler on talking about Galapagos, and so I was like, well, what about this? And they're like, no, there's no other predators there. And I'm like, there's the snake.
Yeah, there's the snake.
There's the snake.
But I'm telling you, I had to go through so much like education classes and sit through lectures. They never told us about them snakes. You know what I'm saying? They never did. They never did.
No one would go and pay the high dollars it takes to get there because it's Galapagos. You have to be lucky to get there. I mean, don't they limit how many people go?
It's you can't just go there. I went through a great company called G Adventure. That was recommended by my good friend John Mader, who's taken a few trips to them. And it's sort of like, ecotourism and all different levels. I mean, if you're a millennial, you can just go sleep in a yurt. If you're rich, they've got someone who's going to carry you on to the canoe and onto the islands. And I just had the sort of the mid-frame, but it was, snorkeling and hiking, and it was a life-changing experience. If I had any money, I would go down to the Antarctica because I think within like 10 years that place is going to be gone.
Yeah,
it's going to be melted and gone.
I agree. I agree.
So.
You do a lot of traveling and touring, and you were just in France. Weren't you just in France? Was that? What was I reading? Where was the last place you were in?
Well, no, it was the last 2 months for me was ridiculous because I left on February 19th to go to Tampa, Florida, St. Petersburg, where I filmed 3 instructional videos. And then I got home, and then I spent the weekend mailing out the videos that had arrived, the physical copies of the diary of Patrick-Xavier that had arrived Friday that people had pre-ordered. So I'm up all night, stamping envelopes, addressing them, packaging them. Then I left Monday, and I did 28 shows in 30 days, a solo bass tour, driving myself, advancing the gigs, just me and a van on my bass, driving around the country. I think it was 8,790 miles, something ridiculous. And then I flew back to L.A. for 30 hours, and then I flew L.A. to San Francisco to Paris to Reunion Island, which is off the coast of Madagascar.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And
cool.
that flight was delayed for days, so we sat on the runway all night and then went back to the hotel. So we didn't end up arriving in Reunion until Tuesday, and then we did 4 shows and I did 2 workshops. Then we left Reunion Island Monday night, landed in Paris Tuesday morning, took a train to Lille, where I did a clinic that afternoon and a show that night, and the next day a train to Montpellier, where I had my one night off and had a great meal. And the next day did a workshop, taught some private lessons, did a gig. The next day took a train back to Charles de Gaulle and then flew back, and here I am.
Wow.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. I'm so glad you made it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I'm glad you get to go out in
I know,
nature
the travel. Yeah. I mean, but going to all these different places, I love that. And I really want to get to the album, too, because I want to talk about reading and the Diary of Patrick-Xavier, because this is amazing what you're doing. But the travel part, to me, is always intriguing, and the fact that there's the performances that you do and you tour with, different people, obviously. I mean, your resume is crazy. But the fact that you go out and you are doing workshops and instructing, where I know you can do a lot through Skype and that you do, work with people that way, but to be able to go out and be hands-on with people when you're traveling, I think that's really exceptional and important, because a lot of places don't get what you're doing. In other words, they don't have someone teaching them bass and specifically how you are playing and the innovative work you're doing. So I think this is awesome.
Well, it's been a blessing in my life too. I mean, I think the best education you can give a child, and I have a daughter, is to travel and to expose them to different cultures. I think all the problems in our world stems from xenophobia of people thinking that their way of life is the only way of life and not being tolerant of different cultures. So I was fortunate enough to have parents that I lived in Italy for a year when I was young, and I've traveled, and every time I get on an airplane, I remember like the first time that someone flew me to a gig only because I was good at what I did, and so to be able to travel the world and meet people and play music and get paid for it, is just I wouldn't say I'm lucky, because it's a lot of hard work, but I'm fortunate, and it's certainly something that I love. I mean, I've been to some of the weirdest places. I played in Vladivostok with Dennis Chambers and Greg Howe, where I'm pretty sure the only 2 brothers within 40,000 miles of Vladivostok, and I played in what's the name of the city in the desert in Chile, not Agua Caliente. I can't think of it. I'll look it up.
Agua Caliente.
That's in Borrego.
I played there as well. I played there as well, but I'll look it up on Google. It's in the high desert on the coast in Chile, and I was like the first guy to ever do a clinic there. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Atacama Desert.
That's the name of the desert. But hang on, we can talk. I'll find the name of this place.
I know. It's just I'm like, okay, I want to know. But there's something about traveling and that open door thing. I know a lot of musicians or guys are like, well, I got in it for the girls, and that, some get in for the boys. So it's there's that, but there's this communication that happens. And I was reading about your album and how you like to read as you travel and leave books places. Some people take pencils, you leave books.
Quick thing, Antofagasta is the name of the town in the high Chilean desert. Okay.
I would never remember that. But that's
I know.
Cool.
So
it's a good one.
No, I always read. I mean, I was I come from a pretty literate family. My father, was president of the American Musicology Association, and sort of actually started the academic study of popular music. So he's written a number of books. One's called Music in the New World, and Yesterday's A History of Popular Music in America, from Irving Berlin to Miles Davis. And, I had my mom was an opera singer, and I had an older brother that was also listening to Miles Davis and Pink Floyd. And so I grew up in a household where I was in operas and I was in jazz bands, and we would go to pop bands and hear John Cage and happenings, and they were all treated with equal musical respect, So.
Oh, and you have it on this album. Like, I was just like, he's going into places, like, there's classical Baroque style. Like, I'm hearing, like, all kinds of things, and I'm like, man, I have never, ever sat and listened to an entire album of bass, solo bass, in my life. And it's extraordinary to me, and it's, like, extraordinarily exquisite. It's beautiful, and it takes you into, like, places. It's very. I think you've got a point on this with the lyrics and just doing instrumentals where Nancy and I are both very visual. We both do photography and video work and stuff, and it's like I trip out. Albums like yours takes me to another place, and every time you listen, and I've listened to it about. I'm not going to tell you, it's quite crazy. Quite a few times. It's like you just start listening and listening. And every time you go somewhere different if you allow that experience to happen.
I could make 10 videos to that one.
I know. It's amazing.
You know what I'm saying there?
Well, that's so kind. I mean, what I tried to do is every time, I guess I'm pretty well known for playing with, Vai and Satriani and sort of inventing all these innovative bass techniques. But when I write a song, it's about something. But no one ever asked me why I named this song Windsor Muse. They asked me how I did the sliding harmonic technique, right? And that's so boring. Mm-hmm. So that's why, in this record, I put the cart before the horse and, wrote a story about why I wrote each song, and then it relates to the diary that I found. But also, it's, are you familiar with a website called Hearts of Space? It used to be an NPR show. It's called Slow Music for Fast Times, right? And and there's a great record by Pat Metheny called One Quiet Evening. That it's brilliant playing, but it's also just a record of like nice music to put on in the background to make you feel calm and take you on a little journey and chill out, which I could use a lot of in my life.
But I could see animals and different birds, but then I'm crazy, so just so you know. I am. I see nature in what you did big time, and it's kind of like you should go to the Antarctica.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, because there's something in this that speaks of Mother Earth big time, from all different angles.
That's what it's about.
And coexistence, and people coexistence.
So agree with you about the travel. Mm-hmm. People who don't travel miss 99.999% of life.
Sure.
And they're stuck. They're so stuck in a place of not being open, and especially right now in our current political situation where everybody's closing doors instead of opening up. One of my
theories is that I think it's true that the larger you live from a large body of water, the more xenophobic you are, because you're just not exposed to people. If you're by a river or a lake or an ocean, you can meet people who have traveled there. Right, but if you're landlocked in the middle of nowhere, then you have very little contact with outside cultures, and you tend to think that your life is the only way. But yeah, it is. I could do a whole geographic record because a few albums ago I recorded a version of Going to California, and when I play it live, I give a long speech about. I've been to so many places on the planet Earth, but my absolute favorite spot on planet Earth is a little place called Newer Beach Overlook. Which is between San Francisco and Stinson Beach, and it's this little. You park your car and you go out, and it's about a quarter of a mile in the ocean. There's a crow's nest.
We've been there. It's near Muir Woods, isn't it? Part of Muir Beach. It's up just past there.
You go past Muir Beach and you go up the hill. There's a parking lot. You go out. There's this little crow's nest.
Yeah, and you can see. You can see cormorants.
Yeah.
All on rocks.
Yeah, you can see the Farallon Islands, and every place I've been, You can smell the eucalyptus trees, and there's the old gun places from, they put up cannons to protect us from the Japanese in World War II.
Yes.
It's just it's my favorite spot in the world. So when I play going to California, I just close my eyes and try to remember, I've been there with my best friend, I've been there with my daughter,
That's awesome.
It's just so wonderful.
Going to California is such an interesting song to me. It's one of those that I think it's ingrained in your soul once you've heard it. It growing up, it was a huge part of my life. But Makana, I don't know. Do you know Makana? He's out of Hawaii. He's one of the top slack key guitarists, and he covered it on his last album, Ripe, and he's got this beautiful, this voice that's amazing. But it's so interesting to hear the slack key come in to Going to California. I mean, you got to check that out because I want to hear you both do it, because there's a side of your playing that I go like, how you. Oh man, everyone has to just listen to this entire album, and you need to listen to it 10 times like I do, and I'm going to listen to it again and again. But there are these. I've just never heard bass do all of these runs and parts where there are times you don't even know you're listening to a bass. And Going to California is one of those songs that I've got to go look at. I got to go find that now because I want to go hear you do that.
Yeah, it's over.
That's interesting.
On YouTube, there's a billion versions of me playing it solo and with different bands. But you can find plenty of versions of it.
That's amazing. Now, have you listened to Passages with Ravi Shankar and Philip Glass?
Number one, my brother studied with Ali Akbar Khan, who was the master sarod player. Sarod is a fretless guitar player, right? So obviously I was aware of Ravi Shankar from the first time I saw Monterey Pop, and then my father, as an ethnomusicologist as well, had a woman named Ranga come stay in her house. So I'm very familiar with classical, northern and southern Indian classical music. As far as my thoughts on Philip Glass, well, maybe we'll save that for another conversation.
That specific album, there was a part of that where there's a calming part, like what we were talking about. However, I just say we played one song, Goodbye. And this album takes you through, basically, you can feel someone's life story. Before you came on air, I touched on the fact that there is the Ballad of Billy Pilgrim, and I'm like, this should be in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
I hope
and
so.
It sounds,
if you know, I'm giving
I
you a
kind
call.
of hear like ravens in the beginning, like there's ravens, and like that's just there's this vibe of it.
Maybe
you know what I mean?
Be the
like
bird.
I feel the raven magic, and then at the end there's like raven magic, and there's like footsteps, but they're not quite. Is that you?
Well, you're really close. The way I intended it, for me, it was supposed to be bird calls and whale calls, right?
Okay.
But without a doubt, our bird calls, and then because it's about standing at a seashore and having the waves of memory. Well, I mean, the song is about time not being linear, if you want to really get into it. On a metaphysical level, but on a physical level, it's about the waves of the ocean and like the waves of the past and future washing over you. And how you deal with that. So
it's cycles. It's cycles because
it's nature.
Some of some of the music goes into almost like a scale progression, and just when you think, we're going to get into a scale, it's not, and it's like this. It's cyclical. The whole album is cyclical.
This is about.
That's where the ocean is such a big prominence.
There's two ways to look at it. It's nature,
right
at the core, and then it's also listening to Sam Elliott talk.
So check it out. Like this piece, the Weeping Beech. We can get into about. I always read when I write, and I leave books in libraries, and I found this diary of it turned out it was I think he was an English guy. It was an English who was sort of on the same sort of soul-seeking journey I was on. So he wrote about his favorite tree in Hyde Park, and I went there, and it's it's incredible. But so that piece is written. I listen to a lot of music that's called postmodernist minimalism, and that Philip Glass fits in that, but it's Steve Vai, it's Arvo Part, and it's sort of re-examining music and how it affects you with repetition and over time. And I tell you, I bought this incredible record, Deutsche Grammophon, has actually been doing some really, really fascinating things with sort of reinventing quote unquote classical music. But I bought this record called Sleep, and it's 8 hours long, and it's written by this composer, and it's meant to be put on while you go to sleep, and it sort of guides you through REM cycles, and it's just such a slowly progressing and repetitive melody. Yeah, it was like 8 hours of music. It was unbelievable.
That's cool.
But that's hypnotism.
But that's what, when you go on this kind of journey, like every time, like I said, this is like, it's not. I'm not going to say it's quite meditational, because you've got like pops of different things in there. Now the Weeping Beech, to me, what was really interesting, I felt like almost melancholy in there, like and then you leave moments in there through the song of space, of allowing your brain to breathe.
I worked so hard, man. I about killed my fingers on that song, as far as getting the notes to ring as long as they could. And it's one melody that adds another little bit every time, and then repeats it until the whole part is played. And it's an incredible tree. Like I said, this guy wrote about a tree. You go to Hyde Park, you walk out of Albert Hall, Royal Albert Hall. There's a giant statue of Albert. And you take a left on this thing called the Flower Walk, and it's this tree called the Weeping Beech, and the canopy totally covers the walkway. So when you walk into it, it's like you're entering a room, right? And the temperature drops about 20 degrees. The smell is unbelievable. I sat there on a park bench for an hour, and like everyone that was walking through, even busy businessmen and barristers, they just like stopped. I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, just
you hippie.
The hippie. Oh, absolutely. I guess so. That's what we've come to. I'm writing songs about hugging trees, but it's like I said, it's a place on planet Earth that you go there, and places on planet Earth have incredible power.
Okay,
Nancy,
you have to
power.
Okay, Stu, this is it. Nancy, we're into tree medicine.
Okay,
so and part of our DNA is tree. And so we are tree people.
So I have to say this. Here's a tree exercise. You pick a tree, and that sounds like a good one, and you get next to it, and you get on your hands and knees, and you put your palm on the trunk of the tree, and you close your eyes and meditate or be quiet or whatever until you can hear and feel in your hand the heartbeat of the tree.
Wow. You guys are even bigger hippies than I am. That's great.
I know, but it works.
It works.
And was it Lucas Nelson who asked, do you have to smoke something to do
that?
No.
I know. No, you just have to calm down. And when you can really calm down, you slow your heartbeat down and everything else.
Sure.
And you can actually hear.
Oh, yeah, I believe. I mean, plants I've had, cacti, and they respond better when you touch them every day and stuff, of course. But so here's a book I'd recommend. And do you know who Annie Proulx is? She wrote The Shipping News, and the short story that Brokeback Mountain was based on. Great writer. So her latest book was called Barkskins, and it's a multi-generational book about the early Indians up in Quebec and the early French settlers, and it's about trees and the lumber industry and families and our relationship with forests and trees and wood, and it's unbelievable. Yeah, called Barkskins.
That's already giving me goosebumps. Have you read The Secret Life of Plants?
No, but I had the record, and some of my Stevie Wonder did some of the best keyboard bass playing ever on that album.
Are you kidding?
I didn't know that.
Nope.
I didn't even. Now I'm going to have.
I have read The Botany of Desire by Michael Pollan, which is a plant side view of the world, which talks about how plants manipulate people to do their doing. So.
Oh wow! Terrific.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
Well, animals do things, so do plants, and it's about if you open your eyes and are aware, and that's the interesting thing. I think with your music, it does get people to chill out. There is a thing about calming down and listening. You do some repetition work in there, which is it helps you to get into a cycle of breathing. Does that make sense? Like,
so you can think.
Sure.
And I'm not saying repetition. there's a cycle in your music where it's different as you build, you do different things in there, but there's this, it's bass, right? That's what bass is.
And you know what?
Maintaining.
No, but it's a little different every time. And for me, I rather have bass than shrieking things.
Yeah, we prefer this.
Well, it's just a different option. I mean, most of the work that I do as a bass is play bass, and I love playing in a rock band, and I love playing funk. I love playing loud, energetic music and getting sweat in my eyes.
Yeah.
This record was just something that I was feeling at the time. It's a record. It's a record of what I was feeling, physically and emotionally and musically around 2015, 2016, while I went on some of this soul-searching journey by traveling as much as I could around the world.
That's cool.
It's like swimming underwater and seeing all these fish and plants that you never got to see before.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, it's music to dive to. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Music to dive to. Okay, so Patrick, Xavier, this is some dude that So like when you read something and you connect with it. When we lived in Mexico, we rented this house on the beach, and everybody got kicked out later. I mean, the whole spit on the beach. It was like a whole governmental thing. But my grandparents were out there, and we had to go and take care of the grandfather, the step-grandfather from the Channel Islands. Oy was his name. Anyway, we took care of him there because there was all this stuff going on, and we were like, okay, we better go get a house there so that he can go through all these medical things. But we took this one house. It was called the House of the Dead Seal. And we were right on the spit. It was windy as hell. It was the most craziest house. It was an artist's house. And the living room was painted like the ocean, like you're in the ocean.
It was awesome.
There were all these little nooks and crannies with beds and different. It's weird, but
rooms
she left
different colors.
She left her diary, and
the lady,
and it was weird because at the time we were doing some music stuff, and we were doing a lot with Jim Morrison stuff, and I was reading a lot of his things.
The House of the Dead Seal.
Yeah, and that was it, the House of the Dead Seal, and some of his lyrics talk about the House of the Dead Seal, and this lady left, this artist woman, I don't think she's still alive, left her actual diary. And I was like, well, this is cool. All this drama's going around. I'm going in this little bedroomy thing off it's not even a bedroom, this little bed up in there. And I'm going to read this woman's diary, and it was the craziest thing I've ever read. Yet I could connect with it about being new to this area in Mexico, and, it's an expat community. But there was all this, yet she was a hippie with all these things and art, and it was crazy. And she did have dead seal skulls all on the outside, on the fences, and on the beach we did see dead seals. But anyway.
And whales.
I don't know if Jim Morrison ever went there, but he did. It was south of Ensenada.
He did.
And he sang about the entire, it was crazy. So who knows, right? But that diary thing changed me a little bit.
So you just cracked one of the mysteries of the record that I thought everyone would be so obvious, but no one gets. I mean, I found this diary. Right, I was on a journey and I was keeping my own diary, and I was going to either write a book or make a CD about my travels. I took it, after life-changing events we don't want to talk about. I decided to take a year and just travel, right, and just put my stuff in storage. And then, and then I found this guy's diary. And like I said, the circumstances weren't the same, but the overall truths of what he was looking for were the same. And we'd actually been to some of the same places, right, which is really weird. But, of course, I'm not going to use the guy's real name. So you just said, why did I choose the name Patrick-Xavier? Because what do you call a guy that lives overseas? An expat.
Yes.
But no one ever gets that. I don't get it. I thought it would be so obvious.
Because you travel, people get it if they've traveled. Like we lived in an expat community in Mexico. We lived in an expat community in Kenya. We lived in an expat community, sort of, not but really, in South Africa. Yeah. We lived in England. So we've
always been an expat.
Yeah.
And now we're here.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're lost.
we meant to visit countries. Yeah, we meant to visit countries and then went, I think we're going to stay longer.
Yeah, the expat thing is interesting. And when that's funny because when I saw the name of it, Diary of Patrick, I want to say Javier. And here in Tucson, I know. I just did that too. I'm so
mission.
screwed up about how to pronounce anything now from living in different places, and
No,
I am. But
I don't
we
know
have
what the
some
rules.
Xavier Del Beck. The mission.
Yeah,
we have a mission.
I have problems with that all the time about what are the rules. Like I've got a good friend when I go to I speak Spanish pretty well, but I get to Argentina and I don't know what they speak there, but it's not Spanish, and no one understands a word of what I say. But I've got a friend of mine, and his wife's name is Laura, right? So I say, hey Laura, how are you? Laura, because I'm American. That's how we say it. And she goes, no, it's Laura. Yeah. And I said, okay, what's my name? And she goes, it's Stu. And I say, listen, when you expect me to call you Laura, then you can say Stuart. And they can't do it, so I don't know what the rules are, you know. But I will say the Germans are the worst about it, you know. I don't know where you try to, you know, adapt a regional. Do you say, you know, Mark Neukirchen or Max Neukirchen? You
gotta have the.
Hey. Okay, wait. Synchronicity. Speaking of that, Germans.
Oh boy.
You recorded a couple albums with a friend of ours, Misha Shellhoff, the guitarist.
Well, so I guess I did. I got an email from him today, telling me a couple emails about how much he was looking forward to the show and blah 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 blah. And I'm trying to remember when I met him, and what I did with him. So maybe you can tell me. And now he's going to hate me. So, but
I tagged him on Facebook and said you better listen to his albums. But because you worked with him and Chad Wackerman on Double Take, his full album, as his first debut album, and then you did. I think you guys you do studio work. So
wow.
And then you did work with him on his EP Wings of Fire. Yeah, and
so it must have been just. I mean, a lot of the work that I do. Excuse me, Misha, for forgetting you among. But people send me. You know, I do like 2 or 3 of those a week, and I wish.
Exactly.
I wish that I could remember, and I could speak and say, "Oh, I remember that one. It was great." He said
we
he has
know more about you than you do.
We don't.
Well,
no, we don't. No, we don't.
Well,
no,
he said he has a cool. He says he has a cool performance space in Joshua Tree, so I'm dying to get up there.
He's got a couple rental properties out there, and we used to actually live where he is now.
Dude, we've lived everywhere.
And now we're not there, but he's there, and he plays in places out there, and I'm like, it's cool to see him perform, but he used to live out in Santa Monica or Venice Beach. I'm going to get it wrong, but same thing.
Area.
But okay.
Cool.
Speaking of Venice Beach, let's talk about Smoke Break. We're going to play that.
Okay.
This is the only singing you're going to get on this album.
Well, close to singing. Let's hear it.
Cool. Okay, because it's pretty jazzy and gets a little funky. So everybody, here it is. Smoke Break again. Go get the album. It is The Diary of Patrick-Xavier, as you say it.
That's how I say it. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, but go get it, everyone. It's on CD Baby, and just look up Stuart Hamm on there and enjoy. But here it is, Smoke Break.
Smoke Break.
You just heard a little bit of Smoke Break from Stuart Hamm's new album, The Diary of Patrick-Xavier, and you can get it on CD Baby. And also go to his website, stuarthamm.net. He's got 2 M's.
And available on iTunes. It's up on iTunes now, too.
It is?
Cool.
Okay, good. Go get it. Because now Smoke Break, seriously, that's like, for us, we have Wiggy Time. It's cocktail hour. Wiggy Time, Smoke Break. There is the calling out of Smoke Break, but I also think it should have been a song that was on Weeds, the TV show.
It reminds me of the show Shameless.
Yeah.
Because there's a young guy on Shameless, I don't know if you've seen it. He's got like curly hair, blonde. Yeah. He's one of the sons, or kids in the house, and he makes a whole art out of the idea of smoking, and like I could just put that music right there.
to get
because he just does it.
Well, so you want to hear this? You want to hear the real story behind that song?
Yeah.
So again, the thing was when I read this guy's diary, that's why I would really recommend buying the hard copy, because for every story, there's a photograph I took about where I wrote the song. There's a couple paragraphs that I wrote about what the song's about, why I wrote it, what kind of gear I used to record it, all that kind of stuff, right? And so you get to decide like which stories are about stuff that happened to me and which happened to these guys and which we had in common. So for me, I spent one night in prison. I got arrested for a DUI set up in 1981 in Millinocket, Maine, right? But apparently this guy was locked up for a little bit longer than that. And he talks about looking through he's in this little cell with some other people, this little holding area, and he's got this little window on the door, and he looks through the window. At the end of the day, he can hear the social worker walking home with her high heels echoing down the marble institutional hallways, which is where the backbeat comes, right? And the only time he was allowed to go outside and get fresh air and see sunshine goes 4 times a day for Smoke Break, right? And he writes about that when it would it would happen after lunch and 4 in the afternoon, and he would write about the excitement start to build around the ward when people knew the time was coming and people would start yelling from one ward to the other, Smoke Break, Smoke Break, Smoke Break, because they were getting excited. It was the only time of the day they could go outside, get some fresh air. So that's what that song's all about.
Vitamin D.
The fresh air,
vitamin D.
I know. But then that's like workplaces are like that. It's smoke break time, and I swear to God, I used to smoke back in the day, and it would be for those smoke breaks because you could get a break.
Right.
It was when I wasn't working for myself. It's like I'm going back into the world of smoking so I can take a break. You know what I mean?
And smokers get more breaks, longer, more often if your boss.
But the jail thing, dude, that's such a different thing. It's like.
Well, it's funny. Stephen King wrote a story called The 10 O'Clock People, and I can't remember something about the people that were forced to go outside and smoke for their coffee break were the only people that survived some vampire invasion or something.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember. Anyway.
Wow. So what are you reading now?
Books.
What are you reading
now?
now?
I'm reading an incredible book called Sapiens. It's on where's my Kindle? Let me open it up. Unbelievable. It's about why sapiens evolved and Neanderthals and the other forms of people didn't, and how we're going to be the least, what damage we've done to the planet, and how plants have manipulated us, and how we're going to be. The Neanderthals lasted like 2 million years. Looks like the human Homo sapiens aren't going to make it more than 20,000 if we're lucky, right? So it's a great history about what we know about the growth of humans, and of course it changes every week with every new bone they sign. But it's really funny, and it's about the myth of the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution, and it's brilliant, it's funny, and it's informative. Sapiens.
Have you read Population Wars from Greg Graffin from Bad Religion? Greg Graffin?
No, I haven't read
it. Check that out. That's some weird, crazy stuff that goes right with what you're talking about. So you read all fiction and nonfiction?
Yeah, and also horribly, I read comic books. Every Wednesday I go, and I'm a big comic book freak, and I have certain writers I like, Neil Gaiman, and Jason Aaron or Jonathan Hickman are the guys that I like, and yeah, man, I'll read some stupid stuff. I love Stephen King. I love Paul Auster. I love books that teach me. Maybe when I was on the Galapagos Island, I took the time to read Moby Dick, and God, that really is the greatest novel ever written.
That's a time to read it.
That's a good time to read it.
Yeah.
So Sapiens is by Yuval Noah Harari, and it's called Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind. And it's just awesome.
Oh, cool. That's cool. So now, when you were writing the Diary of Patrick-Xavier, because I still have to learn how to say the mission out here, San Xavier del Bac. That's our mission out here. The big mission. It's known for the archaeology. It's a badass, beautiful mission. But
you call
when
it
you were
you
writing
want.
this, I do. That's why we do radio, because we can't say anything right. But when you're writing bass, because that to me is like this whole, you're not writing lyrics, you're writing music, and you're writing stories through music. Are you scribbling down notes? How are you doing this? Like, are you do you have your own version of writing, or?
Well, sure. I mean, what happens is I'm always practicing. I love to practice, and I have, I have a whole catalog in my brain of melodies, of chord changes, of grooves, but that's not really a song, right? But for instance, I have a song called Windsor Muse. And I was experimenting with this technique of sliding harmonics, which I know means nothing to you, but of keeping one note ringing and sliding the other notes to create different chords, blah, 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 blah. It was just an exercise. It didn't mean anything. And then I was in Bath, England, and I just got done teaching for a week at a guitar camp, and it was one of those beautiful, August days in the Midlands where it was sunny, and I was on a park bench at a pub on my third Stella, and I looked up, and there's a blue sky with these clouds slowly going by, and I looked over and I saw a sign that said Windsor Muse, because a muse is like an old alley. And then all of a sudden the sound of the sliding harmonics coincided with the feeling of, hey, I'm happy, that I had a job work well done, I'm going home, I'm enjoying sitting here in the sun drinking a beer. So that's what I named the song, and then I knew what it was all about.
And then, but are you writing notes? I mean, that to me, the notes, when people write music, that's what, it always amazes me, because, when I had to learn, how to read sheet music and then write sheet music, and then it was like, oh, God, I have to put that little thing on the end of the little cleffy thing and all that stuff.
Right.
How do you put it into a thing?
Physically writing it, I'll do demos. Sometimes it depends on who I'm working with. If I send a Sibelius track, or different ways to get demos to get people. But another way to be a great writer is to just hire musicians that I know, so many really good musicians in different genres, and I can pick and choose and say, well, this guy will add what I want for this song, and he'll write a better guitar part than I will. So let me hire him and just give him a little bit of direction and let him do his thing. That's the secret, right?
Yeah.
So
to work with the right
people. And then when I know what a song's about, you can fill in the blanks. Like I have a song called "The Book of Lies" that I wanted to be sort of a funky unison line, sort of like the Meters' "Sissy Strut," but I wanted it to be in this odd time. And once I had the idea for it, and then I wanted the B section to be whole tone, then it's sort of like fill in the blanks. If I can get a general picture of what it's called, if it's supposed to be snarky, nostalgic, funny, depressing,
Do you ever think about writing words? Because to me,
I have one song that has words on it, and actually back in the cocaine '80s, I have an album where I sing like 4 songs on it. It's really embarrassing. Really awful.
But to me, you're a reader. You have these sensitivities of picking up all these nuances of life, and that's we have an artist, Victoria Chick, that comes on our shows, and she does contemporary figurative art, and we talk about this all the time when she comes on. And because she captures these moments, and people call her the cat lady, art lady, but she's not a cat lady. But she has these, if you know cats, they do these weird movements. And so she paints these movements, and it's not just cats, it's horses, it's people, it's all of that. But there's
cat
this,
yoga.
and that's what I feel like with your music and your writing, that you are able to capture these little moments that a lot of people will just walk right the hell by. And you kind of bring us back to center. And you do it musically, but I feel like lyrically, not just necessarily in music, that poetry or fictionally, I don't know, but I feel like writing-wise.
I'm real good. I have a pretty good command of the instrument, and I know what I'm doing. When I've tried to write, and I've written articles, I've written books, I've written intros, I've written reviews. I love to write, but as far as writing, I just obsess over every word, and it's just awful time consuming. I know with music, I have a certain time where I know where to just sort of let it go, and not have to keep re-editing and re-editing. So I'll leave that to professionals.
Because you can just listen and go. There's a freedom in what you do for the listener to go wherever they want to go.
I'm pleased as punch that you guys enjoyed it, because in one aspect there's some sort of groundbreaking and quote unquote difficult chops bass players. You can hear young bass players at home trying to figure out how he played it. That's not the point. The point is that it's supposed to be an enjoyable 50 minutes of music that might take you on a journey. If you close your eyes, it might take your mind someplace else. Yeah, that's it.
Music
that's
trip
the idea.
out. It's supposed to be the trip.
It's kind of like when you're listening, you're going to go over this way, and then there's the other side that goes, well, what about this way? And it's your choice.
Okay.
Which way you want to go.
I do want to ask about the Buona Notte Amore Mia. I can't pronounce this at all. I don't speak any of this, but that is so pretty, and it's it feels very. I know the word amore is in there, but not amore eel, but amore is in love. But it does feel very like a ballad, and it's just a beautiful piece. But to me, all of these songs have the word is duality. Every song in here has a duality part. There's two sides of the coin flowing through the entire, emotionally and spiritually and all of that. There's a duality, and I can't explain it other than you think, oh, la la, and then there's oh yeah, watch here, I'm still feeling this over here. If that makes
that's awesome.
any sense.
Thanks. That's it's nice to know that someone is at least sort of getting what I'm trying to do. Because like I said, in one way, it's just sort of a nice record you can put on. But if you take the time to read, what I've written about each song and then listen to it, there is certainly a deeper thing to it. Hopefully.
So pronounce that the fourth track. How do you say it? I want to hear.
Buona notte amore mia avunque tu sia, and what that is in Italian, it's translation of "Good night, my love, wherever you are." And in the diary, he wrote a poem, right? And the melody follows exactly the words to the poem. But what the song is about, what I tried to put in musically is it's a dichotomy. Is it "Good night, my love, wherever you are," meaning that he has a girlfriend and he's saying, "Good night, Maria, wherever you are," or "Good night, my love, wherever you are," meaning there's got to be a true love for me somewhere out there, but where the hell are you? Right? That's the duality I tried to put in that song.
Oh, interesting. Well, we're going to play Hello because we're at the end of the segment. So we start with Goodbye and we end with a Hello, just like your album does, which I love. Again, there's that crazy duality, right? It's always going to be a little different with that. And so do you want to give us a little insight to that? And why did you do Hello at the beginning and Goodbye at the end? I mean, Goodbye at the beginning and Hello at the end.
Oh man, because it's about my journey. Like I said, I just had sort of an agent of change happen to me that sort of changed my life and threw it in a blender. And so it starts with saying goodbye, to the old life, and then Hello was written on the Galapagos Islands, where at the end of I spent the Christmas in 2015 on the Galapagos Islands, and it was there that I started to be able to envision a future of happiness and of positive, good things happening in my life. So that's what that's all about. Hello to my new life.
Where are you going next? Where's your next destination?
Well, I got approved for a new apartment, so I found out this morning. Well, first of all, I woke up and I was so jet lagged I forgot to move my car last night, so it was towed. So at 6 a.m. I had to take an Uber to Black and White Towing and pay $180 to get my tar out of towing. And then I got home and I received a text that I had put in a bid on an apartment because I have to move from where I currently am, and I got accepted. So I'll be moving, which will be great. And then I've just got little spot dates here and there. I'm playing the Iridium in New York on July 11th and 12th. I've got a workshop next week. I'm doing a bunch of private lessons. I'm finishing up a bunch of recording here at my studio after I move to my new place. And then I'm going to Mannheim for a guitar show. And I don't know. I'm just trying to...
Go to the website, stuarthamm.net. It's Stuart with a U, Hamm with 2 M's, stuarthamm.net. The album, The Diary of Patrick-Xavier, is on CD Babies, iTunes, and we're going to play Hello. But we want to give a shout-out to the National Parks Arts Foundation for being today's sponsor. They are amazing, and right now is the deadline for their Chaco Historical Park. And basically what they do is they put artists, musicians, filmmakers, poets, if you're in the creative arts, you go into a national park unit from the Hawaii volcanoes to the Dry Tortugas in Florida. You get to stay within a national park and create for a full month. And so these are incredible, unique artist in residency programs.
It's awesome.
It is. Would you do that?
Would you do that?
Absolutely. Hook me up. Send me a link. I'd love that. You kidding me?
Yeah, do it now. Like
awesome.
nationalparksartsfoundation.org is the website. Seriously, nationalparksartsfoundation.org. They have deadlines that are happening right now. It's how the grants work to get people there. And some of the artists, their songs end up in the actual National Archives. I mean, it's just this amazing opportunity, and it's open to everybody.
You should do it.
So Stuart, nationalparksartsfoundation.org.
Yeah, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
We'll do.
Okay, super.
So check that out, and thanks to them because they rock, because they keep the arts alive, and they understand art and the craft of it and the process. So, but here it is. We're going to play Hello since we're going to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget, Big Blend Radio airs Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Friday and Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Here it is. Hello. Thanks so much, Stu, for joining us. Awesome time with you.
Hey, you guys were awesome. Thank you so much.
Happy travels and happy moving.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello to the cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
Here it is.
That's it.
Bye.